I don't think these two gentlemen need any sort of introduction, so I'm just going to call two men who actually define Indian fashion for us, Mr. Tarun Tahiliani and Gaurav Gupta. You have, no, you have to sit here. They want me to keep my eye on the timer.
These are X shoes. I love them.
It's all one piece.
This is all like one shoe.
Wow.
Amazing. Can we have everybody seated, please? I'm watching you, Kim. Can we start? I think the first question I really wanted to ask was that Indian fashion is finally getting its due on the global stage. Do you think our presence across global fashion weeks have played a pivotal role in this?
Well, of course, thanks to people like Gaurav and Rahul Mishra who show abroad, there is always going to be a kind of interest and exposure that wouldn't have come. But Indian fashion's also been going abroad because of what India is at the moment. Indian diaspora is so, powerful in the UK, in America, that they're taking it to another level. And there's much more travel between the two countries. Now everyone knows everything about India, which wasn't the case before. So I think that Bollywood, everything contributes. And
Guys, can there be less noise at the back, please? Hello?
Oh, he's stomping off in those
Hello?
boots.
Hello, hello, hello. Okay. Hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Rasna, for having us here, and thank you, Harper's Bazaar, for putting such a beautiful event together. Yes, the global. I think it was high time that Indian fashion was having a global moment, and well, people like Rahul Mishra and I have been very fortunate to be invited to the one of the most prestigious platforms in the world, which is Paris Haute Couture Week. And today, the world is becoming more and more accepting of different cultures. Today is the time when we have African designers, Indian, Taiwanese, Chinese, all kinds of designers showcasing at global fashion week platforms. So it actually is becoming quite egalitarian in that sense of cultural representation, which is an interesting moment globally. And India is really having a global moment in multiple ways. It's like with Priyanka Chopra being in Hollywood, it's with Indian actors in OTT platforms like Bridgerton, it is with designers like us, it's with Tarun, who's paved the way for us in so many years and has done, we have actually gone, all of us have gone to exhibitions like Tranoy, to so many things we have tried to do, but this is the right momentum where there are designers showcasing at Milan Fashion Week, London Fashion Week, and there are Indian designers or British Indian designers who are showcasing in London, etc. So there is an India moment happening right now, for sure.
100%. And what I feel is that artisans are truly getting the recognition they deserve. And as somebody who champions artisans, what do you feel today about that?
Well, it's like saying the people who make the Louis Vuitton bags, do they get their due? No, they don't. But it's the brand that takes them out, and it's as important as the brand decides to put forward. But I think that people have understood that great quality can come from India. It's not hidden. And I think Dior was instrumental when they brought the Chanakya school forward and took people in and the press that came. And you suddenly saw embroidery with people in lab coats, not in some dirty sweatshop, as most embroidery, workshops are, doing work in the way that Lesage would have their embroiderers in Paris. And I think that psychologically just changed the whole game, even for the Indian craftsmen, even if they're not sitting in that workshop, to value what they are doing. And that's, to me, a huge difference, because then they will work differently and they will demand differently. And of course, we are all based on craft, so.
Exactly.
On that point, I would really compliment people like Tarun on setting industry standards in the country, which is standards for fair wages, standards for industry practices of growing an industry. I look up to Tarun as an example, and that's why we at Gaurav Gupta have managed to build a culture where we are respecting the artisan as well. And that we are very proud. And we become examples for the industry then to follow, and that the artisan today is empowered with getting fair employment, fair wages, And there is a reverse migration that we talk about as well, because we are able to actually give them doing embroideries in their villages where they're able to set units. So there's a lot of cultural development that's happening because of artisanal empowerment.
No, that's something I was going to come back on because I've had the pleasure of visiting both your workshops, and that's something that I've seen is that artisans get a lot of respect there. Like I've sat with TT and he always says that my artisans are the people who need to shine. And that's what you always make do. And the same thing for Gaurav, like we went recently to your atelier and we saw the same thing, the kind of respect, the kind of space you provide, the infrastructure you're providing, like you guys said before, it's not a sweatshop anymore.
No, not at all. I also think that, new things have come in which have made this global movement possible. We never came from a tailoring tradition. We came from a drape tradition. Everything was draped. Now everything's tailored, but we had 20, 30 years to learn it. And people like you have taken it to another level with the draping. So it's a new kind of craftsmanship that's been developed that's not traditional, that marries construction, beautiful workmanship, ruching, handwork, and frankly, it's because of the wages in India that we can afford to do it. I mean, it's also an economic thing, but it's a necessity because with 1.4 billion people, you can't have people sitting in BPOs. They must do something they love and feel excited about going to work for and stay within their culture, I think.
So the savoir-faire, as they say in France, is developing in multiple ways. And it's true now that in India, people, 15 years back when I would actually deal with or see a customer or a bride, or 10 years back, everybody would be like, what is the embroidery? And it was just about how much work is there in your garment, which is about how much embroidery is there. But today they understand silhouette, or they understand sculpting or tailoring and the craftsmanship of many different kinds, and that is developing now.
And they understand that they can't walk in 30 kilos of embroidery,
Exactly.
You give it to them.
That's true. So I think it's a cultural revolution happening right now.
My next question would be, could you highlight a memorable experience that you've had while collaborating with a skilled artisan or craftsman that significantly impacted your work or influenced it?
There's no one incident. I went back to Benares after the pandemic, and we worked with some of these people since, I'd say, 87, 88. And they lived in these tiny little houses, in these dirty gullies, and everything was farmed out. Now there is power loom. They've embraced some technology, but it also allows them to do much more than they did before. And I think the biggest thing that affects me is to see how they live today, how their children's weddings are celebrated, how their sons can speak English and text me on my WhatsApp and send me an image and say, is this the right color? This didn't exist. We've gone in one generation from really kind of bleak working conditions, post-socialism, to dynamic young cultures where they're proud and they want to sustain, but they use technology and they have expectations. I think that for me is the most, significant thing that I see across the board.
Anything from you, Gaurav, on this?
Well, I would agree. The thing is, I have seen, for me, recently when you came and we had hosted the president of Comité Colbert at our atelier, when I was going around the atelier and it was an emotional experience for me. I know I sound like one of those people, but it's like I went and when I'm meeting some of those embroiders or tailors who have been with us for 17 years and have grown and stuck to the craft, and they are obsessed and in love with that craft.
And master it.
And they themselves become, master craftsmen of that particular craft at Gaurav Gupta. For them, and then when they're seeing that on a celebrity like Beyonce or Deepika, they are part of the story. And that, for me, is a very empowering thing.
I'm going to make my question. I actually had a question regarding this, sorry.
Tarun and I are sitting like, you're ready.
No, I have this question now that we're talking about celebrity dressing. Gaurav, you have dressed celebrities like Beyonce, Cardi B, Kylie Minogue, while Tarun, you've designed for Lady Gaga, Oprah Winfrey, Paris Hilton. How do you stay connected to the rich heritage of Indian textiles and techniques while constantly innovating for global names?
I'm not innovating for global names. I do what I do, and if the global name decides to wear it, that's great. I do what I do, but what's changing today is that, let's say 25 years back, everybody here would be in shalwar kameez. Now everyone's wearing tailored Western clothes. And so because of this tailoring, what we're doing is much more contemporary, even though we're using Indian crafts. So If I do a concept sari, Lady Gaga can slip into Delhi and zip it up and put it on. She couldn't do it with the sari. So what we're designing is much more aligned to a global citizen today that's going out of their comfort zone or exactly what they do to being global citizens. I think that's what it means, that cultures are transmitting and transmuting. And so people themselves want to be different and unique and experimental, which is where designers come in and they choose things. That's the way I look at it. I'm clear, I'm designing for the Indian market as I understood it. When I showed in Milan 20 years back, we were ahead of our time. I had no idea what to do for that market in winter. Everyone there wanted the neckline till here, and every Indian still wanted the neckline till here. So we didn't, and the Japanese wanted something else, and we were too small. So I made my peace with this. We want to be contemporary, but global Indian designers.
When I came back to India from St. Martin's about 20 years back, people thought I was an alien. So I was never like, like the kind of clothes. Maybe they still
True.
pay.
I
They
mean,
still
my
do.
God,
Yay,
I
yay.
love seeing
Okay,
his
perfect.
alien look.
So-
Thought I was an alien. Okay.
So the thing is, I don't, a lot of times I say, I'm not necessarily Indian, but I happen to be from India. But I look at India as a beautiful place, a beautiful tribe which has amazing craftsmanship. And I don't necessarily have to showcase that to the world in a very Indian obvious way. And that's what has been like, it kind of irritates me when people come to India and are Indophiles, like let's go to Taj Mahal, or it's all about elephants and camels, etc., etc. Whereas, the thing is, if you see any of these garments, it's been done by Indian craftsmen, and there is Zardozi technique, but if it's done in different material, that is still Indian craftsmanship. It doesn't have to look Indian in your face.
I find a lot of your draping inspired by the sari.
Exactly,
It's
but that
super
doesn't have-
contemporary.
exactly.
That takes from something that you're unconsciously grown up with.
Exactly, and it doesn't have to be as obvious.
No, not
yeah.
at all.
So I feel like this is where new cultures in the world are created. Like India, as a definition as India, cannot remain the same as it was 50 years back or 30 years back. Today, there's a new global India and a new global person. Everybody sitting here, a lot of people here, are quite global and not necessarily Indian or British.
My next question is, you both are known to champion diversity in fashion, both in terms of representation on the runway and incorporation of diverse cultural elements in your design. Is it a conscious choice that you make, and how do you go about it?
We were born like this.
I think we're Indians, we've been brought up in English, we've traveled the world, I've studied in the US. Of course I'm impacted by everything I see and do. I'm always in museums, whether in Africa or, there's a whole world, and you seep it in, and then it's viscerally comes out at different times. If I go to the Kumbh Mela, I'm going to see draping. And that's the fun of it, because hey, my most important thing is that I have to get up early morning and go to work and have fun doing what I do. Then it all flows.
So, when we actually started having curvy girls in our shows, or having trans representation, or people from different parts of LGBT community in our shows and our films, etc., it was quite a natural process. We were one of the first ones to have a couture film having real life gay couples or lesbian couples or non-binary people in our clothes and in our shows. But I feel like it's something which comes very naturally to me, and we have even, in fact, because I have grown up as a gay person in India, and I know what I have gone through as a struggle for that. So that's something that I have empathy towards lesser represented people in the society. And when we say that these people are talked about enough and it's become a fad, I still feel it needs to be talked about so much more that it is not a fad anymore. It's still, the fad needs to go on.
Now that we're talking about luxury, the biggest thing in luxury comes the weddings, and you both are known to design for the quintessential Indian bride. How do you think the brides have evolved from the time you started to now?
Well, when we started, they didn't really have a point of view mostly. Their mothers and grandmothers did most of the decision making. Now mothers and grandmothers have a point of view. They're told to shut up, mummy. They know what they want. They come with their Instagram. They're in micro mini shorts, Gaurav. Even the granny is still in a kota doria wrapped around very traditionally, and nobody has a say. They want to dance all night. They know it doesn't matter if it's 3 degrees outside because they plan to have 10 tequila shots. It's a different world. These girls have arrived. The boys want to have fun. The Indian wedding is the most hysterical, non-stop party. I mean, it's exhausting. Many people are ill at the end of a wedding. I mean, with good reason. It wasn't like this before. So, like, you know, they're global. They want to do what they want to do. There are multiple different expressions. They take it a little too seriously and a bit of hyped up, but, you know, it makes designing and dressing people much more fun, much more experimental.
Yeah, it definitely has become extremely fun. Today there are theme parties like surreal theme parties or parties where people are just hanging from ceilings, and there's lots of different kind of parties happening everywhere in the world. There could be a Rome theme party in Jaipur, or you know there's Beyonce coming or Rihanna coming to perform in Indian weddings. So Indian weddings is one of the most extravagant celebrations in the world, I would say, the kind of planning and the kind of partying that goes into it. And today, the wedding industry is completely evolved in the sense it's a new culture altogether. When I started about 15 years ago in this wedding industry, people did not wear a gown. And today, they have to wear a conceptual state. Every bride is fighting, can I get the latest Gaurav Gupta statement gown? And she wants to updo the other bride. Or the grooms are wearing these embroidered tuxes and and not afraid to celebrate themselves. So it's a new culture altogether.
No, like you said, like now it's not just about the amount of embroidery on the garment, and like you've always said that I want my bride to be partying in my outfit till 3 a.m.
Not go up at 10 o'clock
Well,
and
they
change
are.
because she can't
There's no
walk.
choice. They are partying till 6 a.m.
Yeah, but they don't change, right? That's something that I've learned with TT, that he always says, I don't want my brides to ever change. They should be in that lehenga till the wee hours of the morning. And that's something I've seen with your brides also. It's something that the embroidery, the weight of the embroidery doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, and sometimes actually we make garments which we a lot of times I give gowns to brides, which is an embroidered gown inside a column, and then she has a big bustle which she's able to take off later on and just dance the night away. And there are these innovative solutions that coming out of the need of the customer, it's a couture customer, and that's her lifestyle. So we are working around it.
And now that we have all gone to the digital age, you both are very active on Instagram through the pages. I know you secretly see it sometimes. And how has social media affected the way you connect with your audience, market your collections, and express your vision? I know you have a very strong brand strategy also to it.
Well, I'm blessed with a very beautiful team. And also, yes, the brand is, truly becoming global, where we have people from all over the world following the brand, all kind of stars, all kind of celebrities, culturalists, interacting with the brand on social media. And that today really makes a brand culture globally, because then you feel like somebody from France or Australia or somebody is, big in Hollywood, or a musician is commenting on something that Paris Hilton is wearing or Beyonce is wearing or a bride is wearing on my Instagram. That's where newer dialogues are happening as well. So today it is actually, everybody in the room knows that 95 or 99% of all brand communication is happening on social media. It is the strongest tool of marketing. Of course, there can be a lot of different strategies that can go behind it, which is celebrity dressing or cultural movements or showcases or, there can be different kinds of storytelling, but the end communication is happening through social media.
And now that we're in the age of mindful luxury, I have a question for you, Gaurav. How do you think the young designers are incorporating sustainable practices into their work? And then I have one for you.
Okay. I think sustainability is something which needs to be looked into a lot more. I think we are still just barely touching the surface of it. For me as a brand, what we did was we are getting all our packaging from recycled ocean plastic and landfill plastic. We're literally taking PET plastic and making jacket covers out of that. And we made sure at least our packaging is all upcycled, not even recycled, it's upcycled, so that it's some sustainable practices. Again, that's where people like Tarun and I become examples, because my numbers are in thousands, they're not in millions. We want, in fact, I've actually had talks with certain industrialists to talk to them about that. How can we actually create more PET plastic packaging across industries or in the larger fashion industry as such? So I think there needs to be a lot more happening. And it's not just, we keep talking about young designers. The young designers numbers are like 100 units. We need to talk about larger industry at large here. What will get affected is like where the high street starts actually happening, taking sustainable practices seriously.
Yeah. And Tarun, for you, I wanted to ask you, how do you view the growing emphasis on fashion that actually cares for the environment?
Say that again.
Growing emphasis on fashion that cares for the environment.
Well, look, obviously, as Gaurav said, it's the need of the hour. We know what's happening globally, but
We're all
also
going to
think
die
there's
soon.
a lot of lip service on things. My part in India, actually, when they talk about, being sustainable or organic, everything we did was organic till 30 years back. I'm not sure why we jumped off onto this industrial plastic, wannabe Western mode. You just reverse it. You use natural fabrics, you work by hand, you do more. There's no pollution out of that. It's good for a whole different thing. It's great to take things that we can upcycle. I've looked at fabrics made out of poly bricks and all, but I can't use them. I don't think they feel nice.
That's what the challenge is. In India, we have the money and the infrastructure. We just don't have the want to actually develop the industry as much. I have to sometimes
But there's so
import
much
those.
in India that was still organic. If we just go backwards and
That's
recognize
true.
it and use it.
I know for sure, but I mean to say when I want to do the upcycle thing, I have to import it, which kind of defeats the purpose. So I'm saying there needs to be a lot more alignment in sustainability, which is needed at an industry level.
Well, I think everything we do has an impact. Because of the Houthi rebels, the ships are now going south around the Cape of Good and the books take 3 months. Simple little things have an impact. Everything we do has an impact. So actually, somewhere in our thinking, even as we grow globally, we have to go back to small is beautiful and adopt those techniques. And I think that makes a big difference in the long run.
I'm being told to cut off, but I have one last question for both of you. If you both had to collaborate with each other for a collection, what would it be called and how would you both imagine it?
Wow, it would take draping to the next level. It might be a great idea. Let's see, we might do it.
The drape galore.
Yeah.
I don't know what would it be, yeah.
Any idea on who would your ideal muse be for this collection if you both had to pick one?
Well, I'd let him choose.
I don't have a muse. I don't have ultimates and favorites.
They're multiple.
Yeah, they're
I think
multimates.
with both of us, we'd stand with the fabric and
Yeah.
something would happen there.
We are a fabric
That's the
that'll
way
wrap
to
around
rock,
everybody.
yeah. We'd start wrapping and see.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you for being here.